I'm Elizabeth Vargas. We begin tonight in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where the first-degree murder trial of Lindsay Clancy has become a national flashpoint over the issue of mothers' mental health. Clancy, a mom accused of murdering her 3 young children, claims she should not be held criminally responsible because she was suffering from postpartum psychosis. 300 supporters outside the courthouse today agree. A crowd of mostly women, but some men wearing pink and touting the slogan, "Stand in Peace for Lindsay," gathered as day 17 of Clancy's trial began and then abruptly and quickly ended. Clancy admits to strangling 5-year-old Cora, 3-year-old Dawson, and 8-month-old Callan with exercise cords. Witness after witness has taken the stand to testify that for months leading up to the murders, Clancy was literally begging for help. She told her mother, she told her husband, she told her husband's mother, she told doctors, suicide hotlines, anyone who would listen. But the defense says that instead of intervening and helping, a slew of mental health experts misdiagnosed her and over-medicated her, perhaps dangerously. Now, whether or not the jury believes she was insane when she committed this horrific act, the case is certainly resonating resoundingly with women across the country who are showing up in droves to support her, united in the belief that doctors and the healthcare industry do not do enough to help women after childbirth. Prosecutors, on the other hand, have sought to paint Lindsay Clancy as a manipulative, methodical killer who executed her children because she resented them. And they have cast doubt on the veracity of that allegedly homicidal voice. Court is set to resume tomorrow. The defense is expected to call one last expert witness, followed by rebuttals from the prosecution and then closing arguments as soon as Monday. Let's bring in our panel, former federal prosecutor Neama Rahmani, criminal defense attorney Brian Claypool, and we have attorney and jury consultant Claudia. Thank you, all of you, for joining us. Neama, what could be going on behind the scenes? A second day in a row of court abruptly stopping with these, quote, unforeseen circumstances. Is this a scheduling issue or something bigger?
I think it's a scheduling issue. We were supposed to have one other witness today, and the defense decided not to call that witness because, again, it is going that well. That's how good Kavanaugh, the chaplain, was. She corroborated not only the voices, but that Lindsay Clancy thought she had to kill her kids to keep them safe. That's a whole nother layer. And this is not a hired gun. This is not a paid expert. This is a chaplain who's a percipient witness here. I mean, this case is really trending towards acquittal or lack of criminal responsibility. And I think the defense knows it. And they're just trying to call the bare minimum of experts. We have one more tomorrow, an expert on postpartum psychosis. Then this is going to wrap up with jury instructions, Elizabeth.
Brian, this expert we're expecting to hear from tomorrow could be the same psychologist who treated Andrea Yates, the Texas mother who is still to this day in a psychiatric hospital after she drowned her children in a bathtub, also suffering from postpartum psychosis.
Yeah, Elizabeth, look, prosecutors can cherry pick all they want, like Neama said, asking her, for example, why wasn't it in your notes that Clancy told you about this male voice in her head? Well, it's not in your notes because it didn't happen. That's not enough in this case. We've talked about it. The burden of proof is on the prosecutor to disprove insanity. How do you do that? You need an expert witness that I've yet to hear from. Maybe we'll hear from one in rebuttal. But Elizabeth, Clancy's, this guy Ziesel, I think his name is, he already testified to the ultimate fact in front of the jury. He said he doesn't think, based on all the medication, all the symptoms, that she is criminally responsible for her behavior. Now, you tell me, if you're the prosecutor, how do you expect a jury to rule in your favor unless you've got an expert that refutes that? So that's what I'm waiting to hear from.
Yeah, just to be clear, because you've raised a really good point, Brian, under Massachusetts law, the prosecution must prove she wasn't insane. The defense doesn't have to prove she was insane.
That's exactly right. Thank you, Elizabeth, for clarifying that. Because you and I talked a week ago. I said this case is a battle of the experts. And you cannot cherry pick. You can't pick little things. Oh, she behaved this way. She ordered scallops for dinner. That means she didn't do it. You need more than that. You need an expert.
Claudia, this case is really split in the public. I mean, first of all, the amount of commentary, the amount of public interest in this case is off the charts. People are watching every moment of all the testimony. People have very strong opinions. We saw that big crowd outside the courthouse today. There were other demonstrations, not just outside the courthouse. There was a demonstration even as far away as the UK. We know that this jury, and sentiment divides along gender lines. Women are very much saying, hold on, we don't treat women well enough writ large in the healthcare industry, but especially when it comes to postpartum issues. We're seeing these debates online where men are saying she was just selfish and women of all political stripes are defending her. This jury is 12 women and 8 men. That would appear to really favor the defense.
Yeah, it's difficult to say with certainty because in the jury selection and analysis world, you never want to say that a person, just because they're a woman or just because they're a man, they might be good or bad for the defense or the prosecution, because people are not just one thing, right? We are made up of our value beliefs. We're made up of our experiences, our backgrounds, our education. So it's not as clear cut as just because there might be a majority woman jury. And I should also make the point that, yes, there's 18 people on the panel now, but it will get reduced to 12.
Right.
Who will be selected at random. So we don't know the actual final makeup of the jury, but it is difficult to say that just because somebody is a woman, they might lean more towards the defense. Now, what you mentioned, about the protests today does seem to suggest that this is, resonating widely across, especially women. But even with that, we don't know who's in the jury pool. We don't know what their particular experiences are with mental health, with maternity, and all of that. So those are other factors that we would need to look at before we're able to say something like, would that be favorable or not?
Right. It's just clearly resonating with women where you only have to read and watch all the commentary. Women have long been, we know, neglected. I mean, all prescription drugs are tested on men. We've, lately just had the medical industry and doctors wake up to start, treating women for menopause or perimenopause. Many women have felt neglected when it comes to postpartum health care, that people don't take them seriously.
No, and that's absolutely true. And I think, for the most part, I think we can assume that most women will feel that way because it's just such a universal experience, as you said, in this country. I mean, neglected in the healthcare industry for as far as history goes in the healthcare industry. But it's still, I just like to caveat it that it's just not that clear cut that if we do see.
Just because a juror is a woman doesn't mean it's a slam dunk.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Hey, Neama, help me understand what the prosecution is arguing here. They're trying to say that when she committed first-degree murder, she knew what she was doing. She resented her kids. And yet we have all these witnesses saying Lindsay Clancy was anxious, depressed, suicidal, hearing voices. Is the prosecution saying that all those witnesses are lying, or are they saying that Lindsay Clancy was planting seeds of insanity for months before she actually committed the murders? What is the prosecution's argument?
The prosecution is on the run. I think they really wanted to go all in on this plotting, planning, premeditation. That means that you're not insane. But look, attorneys, they're ordinary people. And unlike the jurors, they see social media and they see that the tide in public sentiment has completely turned. Let me tell you what's going on there in Massachusetts, Elizabeth. This is Karen Reed 2.0. They're wearing the same hot pink. And we know what happened in that trial, not once, but twice. It's very rare to have an accused murderer with this much public support outside the courthouse and on social media. I think the prosecution knows it. They're getting frazzled. They see the case falling apart completely before their very eyes.
Yeah, this isn't, Neama, just an accused murderer. This is a mother who killed 3 tiny kids, small kids. It is the most horrific crime a person can imagine.
No question. And I came into this case, Elizabeth, thinking that this was going to be a layup. And now I've seen how the prosecution has handled their case. The defense has done an outstanding job. These witnesses this week have been phenomenal. And you see the public support increasing. And again, I'm not saying social media is a barometer for what those 12 men and women are going to do.
No, but it can be an indicator.
No question. And to get all 12 beyond a reasonable doubt, and we talked about that burden in Massachusetts. It's very different in other states and in the federal system, the burden's on the defense by clear and convincing evidence. So very different standard. Massachusetts is one of the best cases for this type of defense. It is working here, and you could tell by how the public and the viewers are reacting.
Claudia, did the jurors see that big demonstration outside the courthouse today, or did they try and get them into the courthouse another way so they don't see that? Because it's hard to say. I mean, that might influence them, right?
No, absolutely. And that is one of the challenges when you have a case like this with such high publicity, when you're having demonstrations outside the courthouse, unless you specifically escort the jurors into the courthouse and have some sort of way to shield them from viewing, this huge demonstration right outside their doorstep. In this case, I think it's been reported that the jurors did, in fact, walk into the courthouse and see the demonstrations happening outside. And, it remains to be seen. They're instructed to not take in outside influences into the deliberation room. But I mean, the fact that they saw it, it's there. They are going to be instructed to set it aside. But at the end of the day, it's a fact.
Hey, I've only got 10 seconds. Brian, super quick. Why was the judge bringing in the jurors one by one for questioning? What is that? That seems to indicate an issue.
I think it has to do with making sure these jurors are not having access to social media, right? There's been a lot of stuff running rampant about, Patrick might have been involved.
It's everywhere on social media.
Exactly, and I think that's what the judge was doing with each one of them. Stay away from it. Don't look at social.
All right. Neama Rahmani, Brian Claypool, Claudia Colon, thank you all three so much for your expertise. Really, really appreciate it tonight. All right.